sleek, silent, unseen. The B-2 Spirit is unlike any other aircraft in the world. A flying wing born from decades of black-budget research, it was designed to do the impossible. Penetrate the most heavily defended airspace on Earth without ever being seen. Shaped like a shadow and wrapped in radar-absorbent material, the B-2 doesn't fight its way in. It vanishes. With no vertical surfaces and a carefully sculpted profile, its radar cross-section is smaller than a bird's. From above, it's just a whisper of a silhouette. But beneath its stealth lies power. Precision-guided bombs, nuclear payload, global reach. It can take off from the heart of the US and deliver devastation halfway across the world, without a single radar blip. It's not just an aircraft, it's a statement. It's a strategic ghost, the embodiment of air power, perfected in secret and only revealed when the mission demands it. And now we can use it in sea power. Let's have a look at the B-2 Spirit mod. So here she is, the B-2 Spirit. This is an extremely versatile aircraft. These things are capable of being loaded out with pretty much any mission loadout that you would have them do in sea power. Currently, I have it loaded out to go up against a warship. This is the anti-ship loadout, actually the anti-ship heavy loadout, giving me a couple of anti-ship Tomahawks. These things have a range of 243 miles, so I'm already in range of this surface ship. The Augusta over here is shadowing this surface ship, and I have just selected this one as a sort of test scenario. This one does also come with offensive ECM, so you can jam your way towards a target. However, the range I have found to be somewhat limited, and in these conditions it is not that necessary. It's about 48 miles. So under these conditions, I'm not going to use it. But what I can do is just engage the enemy warship. At which point, the bomb bay doors will open. The Tomahawks will get deployed one by one by one. All this time, this bird has a very small, very small radar cross-section. If you press F10, you're going to get the dev menu, and if you go to the sensors tab, you will see that we have a own RCS, radar cross-section, very tiny. So this thing is difficult to detect, even with its bomb bay doors open, which I do believe is one of the more vulnerable parts, or more vulnerable times of this aircraft. Now we have our Tomahawks deployed. I can immediately tell the aircraft to change course. The bomb bay doors should close, because we're not actively engaging anything anymore. And at this point, basically you have deployed your weapons, and you can go all the way home. If you zoom out a bit on the map, you can see that this thing has a substantial reach, shall we say. I can fly pretty much anywhere I see fit. So with this, you can get your aircraft taking off from the Heartland US and strike anything, anywhere in the world. But that's just one of its loadouts. That's just one of the capabilities that this thing has. So let's go back into the mission editor where I can easily show you the rest of them. We have a couple of different options. We can either strike things in the ground or on the waters. And of course, if you so see fit, you can use one mission type to strike another. If for some reason you would like to send a couple of cluster bombs after a warship, yes, you could do that. Useful? Probably not, but it can be done. So first you're going to select, am I striking a land target or am I striking a sea target? Sea, it has the fewest loadouts. We've got anti-ship with harpoons, anti-ship heavy with 16 Tomahawks, or anti-ship with the LRASM. That's the AGM-158 Charlie. Let me pull that up. The LRASM has a range of 500 miles. So with this, you can very easily strike at long range. And I have found that these missiles are indeed more stealthy, so they're more difficult to intercept. And that means that you have a greater chance to strike at your target. Even an active radar Kirov, such as this upgraded Kirov, based on a different mod. This is the Yuri Andropov, which is a different modification of the Kirov. It did manage to strike out all 16 LRASMs before it got there. but not easily. Some of those got very, very, very close to the ship. Anyway, that's just one of the loadouts. If you want to go up against ground targets, you got a strike loadout with 80 Mark 82 bombs. So with that, you can definitely strike some ground targets. What I don't know if it's going to strike one thing with all of those bombs, or if it's just going to deploy a few. I have found bombs to be a bit less predictable than a missile, because with a missile you can just say, I want you to fire 1 or 2 or 10. With a bomb, it typically drops everything. The Strike Heavy gives you the Mark 84, as opposed to the Mark 82. Now, the Mark 84 has a heftier loadout. It has a heftier punch. You got a 2,000-pound bomb, or 900 kilograms, versus a 227. So you got 4 times the blasting power. But, of course, it cannot carry as many. You can definitely get some damage in with those, but your targets are going to be fewer, or you're not going to be targeting as big of a region. Strike Precision gives you 80 GBU-12s. So with those things, you can go for precision strikes, but there's a catch. This is when that offensive ECM is going to come in handy, because you will need to laser guide this bomb. Otherwise, it's not going to work as well. The aircraft itself does have a laser designator aboard, but it does require you to fly fairly close to the target, which you might not always want to do. Of course, the bomb might say, I have a range of about 1 to 0, but in reality, it has a bit more range than that. Also, Strike Precision Heavy, which gives you the GBU-10, which is basically the heftier loadout of the Mark 84 with the laser guidance. We got JDAMs, the GBU-83, the GBU-38, which is a JDAM 500 pounds. We have the GBU-32, the GBU-31. There we go. That's the 31. That's the 2,000-pound bomb. The GBU-32 is the 1,000-pound bomb. You can definitely strike out a warship with this thing. It is, however, laser guided. Oh, sorry, these are... No, actually, my bad. These are not laser guided. These are guided bomb units, yes, but they are GPS guided precision bombs. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't use these against a ship. Bunker Busters, the GBU-57. Where is the GBU-57? Here. The Massive Ordnance Penetrator. This is a large precision-guided bunker buster bomb. Can it strike a Kirov? Yeah, probably. But it's designed to bury into a reinforced structure like a bunker or a tunnel. So against a hardened target like that, it'll probably work. Against Kirov, I wonder if he's going to fly in through the deck and fly out through the bottom of the ship. Which, of course, would be very useful. Cluster loadout, and after that we're going to go land attack with Tomahawks, land attack with the conventional air-launched cruise missile. What's the difference between the AGM-109C and the AGM-80? What was that, 84C? Land attack, AG-6C, AGM-86 Charlie, where are you at? Here. One has a range of 680 miles, the other one has a range of 900 miles. These Tomahawks can fly extremely, extremely far. These things are no joke either at 680, so you don't need your jamming. It's just a bomb truck, for lack of a better term. You fly in, get remotely close to the target, and then you send your Tomahawks. Keep in mind, these are anti-surface, but they attack installations. They're not designed to attack ships. Maybe you can kind of game it in this sea power scenario, but not that likely. We also have the JSO, which is the AGM-154A, or the base one. The 154A is the joint standoff weapon, precision guided glide bomb. That's the one I just used against a surface target. And we also have a long range, let's see what's the difference. I think this is the cluster loadout and this is the high impact loadout, or high explosive loadout. So this one is potentially more useful against groups of targets, or targets which are more susceptible to cluster munitions, let's say the top surface of a tank. However, I do believe that if you engage a tank with a JSO with high explosive, it'll be dead just the same. As for the other loadouts, we got a seed loadout, more on that in a minute, and we got the JASM. which is the AGM 184 Delta. Sorry, 158 Delta, which is a long-range cruise missile, 1,000-mile range. This is a blast fragmentation warhead using an advanced infrared seeker and GPS guidance for precision strikes. Fortified high-value targets. 1,800 kilometers or 1,000 nautical miles. Hefty, hefty, hefty amount of punch. So you can load these things out with pretty much anything you see fit. And that makes them very interesting. One of the more interesting loadouts I have seen for them is Seed. So let's have a look at that. Look at this loadout. We have the AGM 154 Alpha. This is the JSO. So this is the joint standoff weapon. It's capable of hitting targets out to 70 miles, and its maximum velocity is 1,000 knots. It's a very fast missile. If you want to make sure that these things actually make it through, you can, well, for lack of a better term, you can escort them with the MALT. This is the Miniature Air-Launched Decoy. Low-cost, expendable air-launched decoy missile designed to mimic the radar signatures and flight characteristics of various aircraft types. So you can pretend that the whole B-2 is somewhere else. On top of that, it also has the AGM 154 Alpha 2. This is the JSO, which is used with anti-radiation homing, so any radar that is currently active within a 70-mile range is going to have a problem. Let's see how well these things work together. I'm operating here as if I'm approaching from the west, well, the western US, that is, and we have a couple of radar sites, only one of which is currently radiating. It's still about 110 miles out, so we got a bit of a distance to fly. If, for some reason, you would wish to, you could activate the radar on the B-2 itself, but that kind of does away with the whole, we're going to operate under stealth and fly in concealed. Well, 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 there's a second radar site. Okay, so we're going to start throwing a couple of these MALDs in. And pretend that these are, in fact, aircrafts. I wonder how they load these, making sure that we'll be able to get the right weapon out at the right time. There's one. And we're going to also throw out a couple of these anti-radiation glide bombs. I do wonder how exactly they work. Yes, they're anti-radiation homing. Or rather, they're radiation homing / anti-radiation. So in that sense, they should find the exact radiation source automatically. I wonder if that's what they will actually do. Wait, you got... Pause. You got this on visual? You looked out your window, and about 50 miles away, you saw that there's a surface-to-air site. Good lord. Visual sensor. Pair of binoculars and magnification-capable TV camera system. Offers longer visual detection than the Mark I eyeball. Yeah, and then some. This is a bit much. Anyway, this is our MALD. It's currently flying at about 439 knots. And we also have a second one flying out. But this is the anti-radiation glide bomb. So this thing is just going to continuously go until I, well, have it reach its target. It's not something I can steer. You cannot tell this missile, or rather this glide bomb, to go anywhere else. I also have a couple of cluster glide bombs. Look at this. The radar site has decided that the ADM, so the air decoy missile, for short, the aerial decoy, is in fact a threat. They've sent a missile after it. So that's funny. I bet you could make the enemy waste a lot of missiles with this. Send another. Are they going to shoot it down? No. Maybe because it's a small target. It is very interesting to see the AI actually try and shoot these things. So, well done to the ADM. And just imagine sending a couple of those ADMs in and then throwing out a hail of bombardment. Let's also go after him with a JSO, a standard one. Just a cluster glide bomb. Away. I'm going to throw out another MALD. These MALDs are pretending to be my aircraft, doing 439 knots. And, of course, with my small radiation signature, I can be very, very, very difficult to detect. If I pull up the F10 menu, you can see my radar cross-section is very tiny. For these things, it's actually bigger. It is semi-small. So they're pretending to be an aircraft. Not only because they're apparently easier to detect than my own aircraft, but they're also making themselves a more detectable target. And making themselves a more delicious target, shall we say, for things like this SA-10 battery. And this SA-10 battery is no joke. These things have a lot of range. They have some pretty damn good capabilities. And those missiles can even hit surface targets if you let them. That's the Grumble. Now, there might be a slightly more modern version of the Grumble because I have a couple of mods running. But still, the base version is no joke either. The SA-5 over here, the Gammon, has even better range, 170 miles. If you can, of course, see that far. For some reason, this thing has not decided to engage my targets yet. My targets being the ADM over here. So for now, they're not really going after it. We got another one. Let's send another radiation glide bomb after it. Interesting that we don't have the SA-5 on visual. Take note just how good the B-2 Spirit is in closing the distance, because this thing supposedly has a range of 170 miles. If you actually let it, it's going to just shoot down anything and everything at that range. This thing, with its very tiny radar cross-section, makes it extremely, extremely difficult to detect. And, of course, then you still have to have a missile which is actually able to find the aircraft. Some of these aircrafts, such as the B-2, are also loaded out with offensive ECM. So if you do have a missile coming in, you can say, well, I'm just going to jam this. In fact, I'm so close to this radar site, I can jam the whole radar site. So with this, you have even more capabilities of knocking out enemy radar sites. I don't think that you would ever need the B-2 to get this close, especially as I have 70-mile range. I'm actually way too close, so I can tell the aircraft to get a bit of distance. But you can, if you wish to, use it more aggressively. This is especially going to come in handy with some of the other loadouts, such as the GBUs. These glide bombs have nice range. GBUs do not. You need to get pretty close to the target in order to get those bombs away. Which means you only do that with the B-2 if you have a pretty decent chance of flying in, or if you are actively jamming the place and making sure that nothing else can shoot back at you. Looks like we're going to have some decent strikes over here. This thing is locked onto the site. You can see it right there. It's that circle. And keep in mind, you don't have to knock out the whole site. You just have to knock out their search radar. If you've done that, basically the whole site becomes null and void, and you can ignore all of those launchers. Because the radar, right there, is our real target. And with that thing out of commission, we might still get the occasional transmission from... Oh, actually, we knocked out a few things more. I thought the bomb landed here, but apparently also got some damage in there. You don't need to worry about any of these launchers anymore. Which is nice. This next one, going in, this is another anti-radiation glide bomb. And that's a nice radar you got there. Boom. Radar offline. I think that's their search radar. No, this is their search radar. This is their potentially targeting radar. This thing, I think, is going to land close enough to cause some serious harm to that search radar. Nope, search radar still active. Right, anyway, that is the loadout capable of going after surface air sites. Very, very potent, very, very useful, and definitely something I would look forward to trying in an actual mission. So that's the B-2 Spirit for you. Very, very capable bomber, adaptable to whatever role you need it to take on the battlefield, and most of the time, it doesn't even need to get close. You can find it linked down below in the description. That's the Steam Workshop link. Be sure to install the other dependables as well. You need anchor chain, and you need sea lifter, and I have a little bit of an installation guide to those linked down below in the description too. They are a bit more involved than just hitting subscribe and being done with it. I do not provide tech support on this mod or any other, so anything that you are struggling with, you can take up with the mod authors. Thank you for watching, have fun with the B-2 Spirit, and let me know how your bombing runs go.